welcome back to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. My name is Ethan Schall, and I'm joined, as usual, my good friend Chris Salona, and we're here to talk music of the 90s, 1991 specifically. Chris, how are we doing today?
I'm fantastic, as always. I've just accepted that my normal baseline now is going to be generally exhausted and disgruntled with most things, but that's okay because then you get used to it.
Oh, come on. It can't be that bad, right?
No, it's never that bad, right? Because there's always the expectation that it could be worse, but it's not worse. Yeah, we're doing all right. Sitting down
but
here.
But I do know it's a Tuesday and you're a little drained from the Monday of the work, and the work week is... Tuesday's the worst day of the week, right? Everybody agrees with that.
I hate Tuesdays. I like Mondays because you get up and you're like, all right, like we're going to do this. Tuesdays, it sinks in that it's for real, and you can't go back, obviously, and the tunnel's pretty dark.
You get a little leeway on Monday sometime if you're not for it, but if you kill it on Monday, you're kind of the hero of everybody's kind of happy.
Exactly.
And like you really set the tone, and so people feed off that energy. But Tuesday, the only good thing about Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. So we got to look forward to that tonight, having some tacos.
Absolutely.
I know I will be.
I think I'm going to be celebrating as well. You have to. It's one of the few things that can sustain us on a day like today. So
yeah. So Tuesdays suck, but that's why we're recording the podcast.
Exactly. Gotta spice things up a little bit. And as you mentioned, Ethan, we're going to be talking about 1991 in music. So there are a lot of albums that are turning 30 years old this year that all came out in 1991, which for me and for you, that doesn't mean anything because we weren't alive. But
4 years older than me.
Exactly. It's 5 years older than me.
If my math is correct.
Yeah, if the gears are turning slowly, but I can do that.
Wait, you're 25?
No, I'm 24. I was born in 96.
So 6 years older than you.
I'll be 25 this year. No, it depends on what time of the year the album came out with.
It's true.
Between 5 and 6. How's that? All right. Nevertheless, it's crazy how much good music came out in 1991. And I would imagine there's a lot of people who are going to be listening to this that are like, wow, I feel really old if this is 30. This means I'm really old. But like we don't have that, obviously, since we're still, in our mid-20s, at least for now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a lot, and we're excited to talk about it. Before we get into it, this is episode 14, is that correct?
I believe it is.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think we're past the point where I'm going to actually be able to remember, but episode 14, because Hard Sun was, or Into the Wild, rather, was episode 13. But as always, these episodes would not be possible if it weren't for our big five, our Grunge Bible 5 supporters over on Patreon.
Grunge Bible 5.
We're going to change up the order that we say their names because, sometimes people's names are at the back, but we're going to reverse them. The last shall be first and the first shall be last kind of thing. This episode is brought to you by the support of Alexis Shannon, Shannon Gorgone, Victor Schaefer, Sonny Mashburn, and Release.
I thought you were going to lead with Release, but...
No, the individual, whoever they are, they always have to round it out. They're the Overwatch of everything important. So, what do you say we get into it? Let's talk the class of 1991. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So where should we start? I guess we should start with the most notables and some of the pillars. And I know in my grunge world, there's absolute pillars of albums from Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and Soundgarden.
Yeah, like if you gave me as a fan,
we've already done an episode on two of them.
Exactly. If you gave me like as a grunge music fan, if you only gave me 1 year to listen to, and like, hey, you can only listen to music from 1991. I'm pretty well stocked, and I think I'd be okay with it. Because you have right off the bat, obviously, you have Nevermind, you have 10 by Pearl Jam, Bad Motorfinger, you have Temple of the Dog, and then something that's a little bit more, grunge adjacent. You have Gish by the Smashing Pumpkins, and you have Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Those 5 or 6 records right there that all came out in one calendar year. That's pretty impressive. I don't think they do that anymore.
Massive. They're massive albums that really, set the course for those bands. For most of them, obviously Pearl Jam, Nevermind was the biggest album that Nirvana has produced, and and Bad Motorfinger, my favorite Soundgarden album.
Yeah, spoiler alert before we get into the list. I think if I could only pick one record to listen to out of all of these, it might be Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah, I agree. It's just front to back. I mean, 10 is also the same way, but I think
it would be between those two. But I would kick a lot of these to the curb in favor of that.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, and there's a lot of like tertiary albums that are really good. Some artists that we love that maybe doesn't get the front to back play as those top albums. Like there's like Fugazi, Dino Jr., and our beloved Melvins and Mudhoney have
and
have
Primus
some albums
as well.
Primus, yes,
all around. It's I mean,
and you can keep going. There's a Pixies album. There's a U2 reincarnation with Actung Baby. Like, yeah. So I guess let's talk about a few in depth. Where should we start? Oh, Metallica that has the Black Album. Absolutely changing like the scene of like going to ballads and just beautiful.
Are you a Metallica person?
Okay, yeah. So in my
this
notes
needs to
for
be
this
talked.
one,
this needs to be spoken about.
Let's talk about Metallica first. I like that.
Right.
So Metallica, you'll sympathize with this very well because at first I was not a Metallica fan until our good friend Jim Toth,
yes,
in the Pittsburgh weight room up in the rafters of the what's the field house called?
Was it no, not the Cost Center, was it? No,
that was
the
the
Fitzgerald Field House. The Fitz.
And it was alliteration, yeah. Fitzgerald Field House. We were in the top, and so Chris and I, we were in the trenches up there, and if I had to pick one, Bad Motorfinger we talk about a lot, but as far as other bands, Metallica is like one of the ultimate weight room bands, and our good friends, we used to, for no good reason at all, shit on Metallica. At least I did. I think you did too. I think we're in the same boat.
I totally did. And to be honest, because this is many years later, I'm still not completely. I still haven't come around to Metallica.
But they have a special
lot.
place in your heart, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're in the same category for me with like AC/DC, for example, where like I don't listen to. I only listen to them if I'm in the weight room. You know, like that is the only point in time. But I mean, you talk about that Metallica album. I mean, Enter Sandman is on there, so.
I was gonna say, Enter Sandman is like one of
that's all you need to know.
One of the best weight room songs, and one of my favorite Metallica songs in general. Mm-hmm. And then you have like the really like different sounds with the Unforgiving and Nothing Else Matters, like super like drawn out and dramatic. And I think that are two of also their best songs. I really love like ballad type songs from these like heavy rock bands. Like you see that a lot, I think, in the era. And a little shift.
Just, and a footnote about Nothing Else Matters. That's got to be in the top 10 all-time list of songs that people will play at a Guitar Center or a guitar shop when they pick up a guitar and they're like, I need to see if this works, while subtly showing off that like I know how to play the guitar. It's always that little riff where they're just working down the fretboard.
Do you mind if I plug in real quick? I just want to see how it plays.
It's like, yes, we do mind, but we can't say no.
Hey, no stairway. That's all that matters when you're in the Guitar Center.
Absolutely not allowed to do that.
Yeah, I do like Metallica. I think that I wasn't. I mean, I kind of wish I would have lived through Metallica a little bit versus like looking back on it, because you have the people that really love them, and like they're kind of polarizing, I feel.
Oh, they totally are, I think. I mean, you have people that are really, really big into rock music, but like Metallica in like the area that they occupy is like one of those weird sects of rock music where it's like it's metal, yes, but like not like tons and tons of like there's people who like Metallica who don't like metal, and then there's people who say Metallica like aren't metal enough, and they're like, they're posers for metal, but they're too hard for rock and roll.
Yeah, I've posted them and been like, and called them a metal band, and then people just naturally jump in and be like, if you guys think this is metal, then you're way off.
It's one of those bands that has such a cult following. Not tons of casual listeners.
I think it's because of the members, like Hetfield and Lars are both, big personalities, and obviously the feud that created Iron Maiden and like the split up. I think that just comes with the territory when you have bands break up and you have drama like that. that you have like you have opinions on them. But I like that. I mean, that is music and fame, you know?
Yeah, and I think anytime you have such an expansive and extensive discography, you're going to lend yourself to developing that cult following. I mean, for example, now, I mean, Pearl Jam, more or less, you know, you could say that there's like a cult following of Pearl Jam, where, you know, they've got 11 albums right now, a couple of studio albums. I mean, all of their bootlegged live albums, you know, people, you know, it's not uncommon to run into somebody at a show who's like, yeah, this is my 30-second Pearl Jam show, you know?
Yeah, when you start talking to people and you go, hey, what's your favorite, you know, Pearl Jam song, or more specifically, like, what's your favorite, like, Deadhead song, and they spit out a date and a place rather than the song title, then you know you're in a cult. That's when you know you're in a cult.
July 9th, 2005 at the Gorge. Like,
I wanted to say this on the other episode. I was talking to Nick, and he said he's on the Reddit for the Grateful Dead. And if you go into the Reddit and you just type in a date, it'll spit out a concert.
Oh, absolutely.
that you can listen to. And I'm pretty sure they've played every single date of the year, except for maybe except for maybe like 3 or something like that. But I'm pretty sure they played every date, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool. And Pearl Jam probably has a similar, they're probably getting close to playing all the dates.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've been touring their balls off for, you know, many years now. I mean, almost 30 years, which is unbelievable. So another album that turns 30, one that I just want to talk about right now, Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. That's you know, it's funny because that was a really big paradigm shift for the Chili Peppers, you know, turning from, you know, they were a funk band in the 80s. I mean,
I feel like a few bands did, because Metallica was the same way, where they kind of moved and did more ballads than this one, and then there's like a few other that people were getting out of their norm.
Yeah, and it's hard to for me at least, I guess, rhetorically categorize that shift, like where the Chili Peppers went, but because I don't want to say they became more conventional, because that definitely sounds like it's an insult, but I don't know if, you know, if their music just became more accessible with this record. But I mean, obviously, I mean, Under the Bridge is on there. I mean, that alone, you know, is a hallmark of the era, a hallmark of the generation. But for me, actually, my favorite song off of this this record was actually on the deluxe version, and it was a cover of a Jimi Hendrix song, "Castles Made of Sand," that they did. And it's just so chunky and chompy, and it's so good. I posted it a couple of weeks ago. They used to play it live back during this era. And that's another funny thing, you know, if you look back at live footage of these bands from like the early 90s, when their discographies and their catalogs weren't that big, I mean, they were playing some deep cuts off of the record, you know, because they had to. They didn't have any other material. And now 30 years later, like, you're not going to hear some deep cuts off of these records unless they play them front to back on a night, which I know some of these bands choose to do, or if it's an anniversary tour or something, for example. But I mean, this is one, you know, absolutely amazing in my opinion.
Yeah, it's true. When I always like to think about, like, you never know what concert, when you go to a concert, like what song is going to be, or what performance is going to be famous like 10 years and remembered, or it's going to be a lot, you know, for deep cuts, like the only version that is ever played, and people are looking for that video online. So it is interesting that if you were to go to a show in 91, you get a bunch of that, and you could say that you saw certain versions and whatnot. The one song on that album that was like one of the first Chili Peppers songs that I listened to and that I heard, and it was through a band member that we were getting into the Chili Peppers. It's actually the first time that I realized that. It's so funny. I was so guarded as a kid and didn't realize that, you know, bands like cursed or talked about certain things when they sang.
Oh, but, even just the title of that album, it's like, what?
Yeah,
sex?
Yeah. Blood Sugar Sex. Yeah, and the song was "Suck My Kiss," and for a while, for some reason, I thought it was like "Suck My Ass," and I thought, I mean, like, cause that, and like, I just thought it was hilarious, and like, we would jam it in the barn all the time, play some Chili Peppers. We loved. They were always a fun band to play with and whatnot. Cause
absolutely, and it's one. And I'll say this anytime I talk about the Chili Peppers. I think any music fan, at some point in their lineage of music fandom, they've gone through a Chili Peppers phase.
Yeah, it's definitely a band that you know more songs than you think you know.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just listening to the version of Castles, and I love Frusciante as a
Oh yeah, and it's great on the
as a
studio
guitar
recording.
player.
Anthony's like, "Take it, Johnny," and he just hits that super fuzzy, just like I said, like chompy solo. It's so good. It's like a bee buzzing, but a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's obviously a super iconic album. Probably I want to say probably my favorite. I don't know. I actually really like Californication, one of the newer albums.
I was gonna. It's probably between.
Newer, but it's like, what was that? 2011.
Californication was, I think, the late '90s. Stadium Arcadium, I think, was like 02
Stadium.
or
I was
something.
thinking Stadium Arcadium. I'm sorry.
I think something like 02 or something. But another one that's kind of in the periphery of being like grunge adjacent, which I know people go back and forth on whether this band could be categorized as grunge or not. I personally don't. But Gish by the Smashing Pumpkins, which actually just celebrated its 30th anniversary, I think 2 weeks ago. This one, the Pumpkins, man, like, right from the jump here on Gish, I mean, they carved out their own specific and unique sound. It's just so atmospheric almost. And, the songwriting capabilities and the creativity, I think, in the studio and live too, really shines through right from the get-go with this band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think looking at the set list or the song list, I think the most listened for me is Rhinoceros.
Yeah, I would say Rhinoceros for me, and then Crush as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins are not grunge, but one of my I really enjoy getting into I like that type of singing. I love Billy's voice. I mean, he kind of represents a lot of I like Dinosaur Jr., which we'll talk about, I think, and kind of like not really the purest of voices in their own right. So yeah, this is another great album that I can always get into and rediscover. I like rediscovering Smashing Pumpkins every time I put them on.
Absolutely, and going back to Billy, his voice is very polarizing, and also for some people, or I guess a lot of people, his personality can also be very polarizing, including to his own band members. But I think people fixate on his voice. Exactly. I mean, there were stories. I think when they were recording Siamese Dream, I think he was writing most of the music, and he basically insisted that he record all of the guitar tracks and everything, and like James Iha was there just like, I couldn't really do anything because Billy just wanted everything to be done, and Billy was like, well, why would you do it? Like, you're gonna fuck it up 15 times. I can get it done in one take. So but I think all of that kind of detracts from the fact that, I mean, he's a really talented guitarist, and as a songwriter, I mean, some of the most iconic anthems of the 90s came from his pen. So and it all started with Gish, and that's a really, really great one to start with, and one that I
was gonna say Billy as guitarist and all that, but I think as a performer, I think I don't know if he's underrated, but as far as like stage performer and the way that he delivers every song, I think he's really consistent and just provides a great experience. I've never been to a Smashing Pumpkins shows, full disclaimer, but like just from the videos I've watched, he seems extremely just passionate every time he gets up there. That's why he plays everything on the song. And speaking of that and that kind of attitude, moving over to another guy that does this. I don't know if you know this, but Dinosaur Jr., the album Green Mind, turned 30, and Jay Mascis also has a little history of doing that, where he plays most of the parts on the album, and he did that for this album, I'm pretty sure. And I guess, he realized that he could avoid creative squabble by playing nearly every instrument himself. So employing the services of the drummer, of course. But yeah, this album, Green Mind, you probably don't know that. Maybe Dinosaur Jr. is not huge, but like I said, he has the voice and the kind of guitar and kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Sporadic kind of sound and
just
music
right
that
in
I
the
like.
Style of the era, and they've been remarkably consistent with that style, and I mean, it definitely right on this album as well. But that's got to be a really interesting / difficult dynamic for a band. If 100%. If the songwriter comes in and is like, hey, like, this is the idea, we're doing this, I mean, just goes to show I can't believe that so many of these bands are still around, because something like that, those conflicts are sure to, create some difficulty in the creative process and the recording process. I think
it's one of those.
Yeah,
I was going to say to touch on that because it happens a lot, where when we were writing music, like as far as I was a young music writer, but I was a drummer, and like you're almost at if someone is creating all of the songs and lyrics, like it's tough to kind of argue when it's tough to collaborate really and have bands. It's actually really impressive when bands can effectively collaborate more often than not. I think that's people don't realize how difficult that is.
Yeah, well, it's even like like in the business world, if everybody has an equal say, it's like, how do you make decisions if everybody wants a different thing? And even I know bands will talk about that even with something like, how do you decide the set list for a show? And Pearl Jam, I think they asked Stone once or something, and they were like, Stone's like, do you guys all get together before the show and be like, oh, I want to play Brain of J, and like, oh, like I want to play Nothing As It Seems? And Stone's like, no, like it's hardly democratic. Like Ed basically comes in and is like, this is what we're gonna do, and if something sounds good in the sound check, we might add it or we might cut it if it sounds bad and adjust on the fly there. But I mean, part of it, if it's done right and you're communicating well about it, I mean, somebody has to be able to override on decisions, or else you just have, there's just paralysis because everybody might want a different thing, or, but I mean, that's why you have to communicate and, hopefully rely on those relationships. And seemingly Dinosaur Jr., Jay Mascis, they've been able to do that considering they're still here. Either that or the money's just too good.
Yeah, just released an album a couple months ago.
Exactly.
Which is pretty good. Actually going to go see them. We've talked about
you got tickets,
here,
right? Yeah, I got
tickets, yeah.
I know they're playing.
I know you've bought tickets this year, so we've been on a buying spree, right? You have a few concerts lined up now, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have I think I have 3 so far. So I was able to secure tickets to Springsteen on Broadway.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing. I'm super excited about that. I love Bruce Springsteen. I also have tickets to see Julian Baker in September. I'm going to pick up tickets to see Counting Crows. I also am going to pick up tickets to see Modest Mouse. And then additionally, I think Dawes is going to Boston. I'll go and see them probably. But I mean, just with each week, I'm finding out about these shows that are near me.
Oh, dude, there's just so many.
Yeah,
so many shows are being dropped.
Disposable income is evaporating, but it's worth it.
I'm disposing of it.
Exactly. I'm doing that which is intended.
Yeah, that's why I saved the money. Yeah, I think I bought tickets to, so far, I have Dinosaur Jr. There's a Camp is coming again, going to see them. I just bought tickets to the Front Bottoms in Nashville. Sweet. And then, I'm going to buy some Modest Mouses playing in Huntsville. And I was just waiting to see if I could get someone to go with me. I'll probably just solo it. But
that's the thing about all of these
friends.
Yeah.
We've been posting that on Porch Radio a lot, and shout out to a good friend Kevin Foster. He's been he commented about it, loves it.
He loves Modest Mouse. Yeah,
he understands the Modest Mouse, and so do we. I think I'm going to talk about them more later this episode for my song of the week, I believe.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Oh man, they're just so good. But it's a lot of good concerts coming out, and it's gonna be hard not to.
That's the hard part for me with like attending concerts, because I think both of us, like, our music taste is not really, it doesn't coincide with people in our age cohort a whole lot. So for me, it's like it's always do I try to find somebody to come with me, but like they won't get it, or like what if they don't enjoy it? Like I don't know if they're gonna enjoy Isaac Brock, or like Adam Duritz, talking about whatever they're talking. So it's like, do I go alone, or do I try to drag somebody with me? Or sometimes I definitely I do really enjoy going to shows alone. So like Julian Baker and Counting Crows, like I just bought a single ticket. But it's always the choice,
Right. Yeah. It's like, do you want to go and kind of experience it yourself, or do you want to go and be a sage for somebody else?
So another question that's adjacent to this: yes or no to going to a concert as a date?
That's a great question. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that it's a great idea.
Yeah.
If you are, I don't think it should be a first date.
Oh no, absolutely
it should be
not.
like there's a few things I don't like I don't like movies as a first date, obviously.
Because you can't talk.
Because you can't talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the concert. Like first date's not good. You're probably too worried about, being impressive or whatever. So, but I do love if you can get because I love enjoying music with somebody. So if you have somebody that you think is going to enjoy and you can go and you guys can both just be yourselves individually and just you almost get to see inside somebody else.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
while they see their experience as you're experiencing. I think it's perfect. How about you?
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the point in that relationship that you choose to go to a concert. So like if you're in a relationship with somebody and like they are your significant other, I mean you can do anything as a date, but like I would definitely not go to a concert as a first date. I never have. Well, I went on one, like to this day I don't know if it was a date or not. It was one of those. It was like, hey, like this band's coming, like we should go, and I was like, yeah, totally, and whatever. That was it, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, I would agree with you. If like, if you both enjoy the music and are connected to music, because I concerts can be a fairly intimate experience. And that connection, between the performers and the audience, and the other members of the audience. I think it's definitely stay away from it though. For the first date, the first couple of dates, and also like if you know that like the kind of music that you want to go see is not your significant other's, it's not their kind of bag. Like you don't do that, because then you're not going to enjoy it because they're not enjoying it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm a big proponent that like when you go to a concert, you pick very carefully who you ask to go with.
Oh yeah, I'm there for the damn show. I'm not there to I'm not leaving like early either.
No, I'm not leaving early. Yeah, but I will say for camp and for Front Bottoms, I was pretty sure, but I buy 2 tickets to most concerts actually.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I always buy. Not always, but unless I have someone else that knows. But usually I buy 2 tickets so then I can ask, and I usually try to convince somebody to go because I do like, happiness is true when it's shared. So
absolutely, it sure is. Yeah, we have to. I know we don't live in the same place, but we got to get together for a couple of shows. This summer we'll make that happen. That'll be great. There's too much history here shared. That's good stuff. But I think there's two pillars that we need to talk about here that are very near and dear to our hearts and to the hearts of anybody who has been with the page for a while. So in 1991, Mudhoney's "Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge" came out, and also "Bullhead" by the Melvins came out. And "Bullhead" is very significant for the reason that Boris is on "Bullhead."
Yes, and if you don't know the song Boris, 1, I'm not surprised, I think, but 2, it's worth a good listen. Something about watching Buzz Osborne perform,
specifically if you can find it solo acoustic.
In the record album is a great one. Yes, solo.
He's in a record store and he's playing Boris, and like the whole and the whole first half of the song is just one string on the guitar, and everyone is silent. Like you could tell that like people like went to the record store and a Melvins concert broke out. Like they didn't go for the Melvins. So, like you just see Buzz Osborne with his hair just screaming into this microphone alone. It's a really, really important setting. I mean the Melvins are great. Like I
love posting the Melvins and then getting the comment that like this is the best band ever. And I can't argue with that person, because to them the Melvins are the best band ever, and that I love the Melvins, but that blows my mind.
They're just unapologetic about it too, and honestly I'm very okay with saying that I don't get it. I like them. I don't very often go out of my way to listen to them. Usually the only time I would listen to them is if I'm doing research for a post or like for a show or something like that. But Mudhoney, on the other hand, is different. Like I will listen to Mudhoney. I just listened to "Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge" front to back last week, and I love it. Mudhoney, they're just so consistent. You know what you're getting, and it's great. It's high octane, good energy. Mm-hmm. Mark Arm's vocals for me are right up my alley. So that's a great album. I know Mudhoney I think they're doing a reissue of the album this year for the 30th anniversary. I know they've been doing some commemorative merch and things like that. So if you're into that, you go check that out.
That's a great album title.
Absolutely.
And it goes with the
Isn't
mnemonic.
There like a mathematic thing or something?
No, it's for a guitar. EADGB.
Oh yeah, no.
Every good boy deserves fudge. So it's like they just made that an album. I love that.
Yeah, I
That's
learned.
how I remembered it.
I learned Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie, as like to learn the strings.
Really?
That's what I learned. Marty Schwartz taught me that back in 2015.
That's awesome. I thought there was
Uncle
one
Marty.
about.
They're probably it's definitely for something, but I'm not intelligent enough to know what it is. Other than being the Mudhoney album, and the fact that yes, I do think that Every Good Boy does deserve fudge.
Yeah, wasn't there one about cows eating grass?
Probably, and then there's obviously PEMDAS, which everybody probably knows. That's for math, though. I don't know what we're talking about here. It's not important.
There is no such thing as a free lunch. I know that.
There is not.
Tin Snaffle. But speaking of not getting it, I think that brings up another album, another band that at first
I think it does.
I think that neither of us really understood. Until,
We didn't get it
until we arrived, and we were reluctantly brought to the altar from our followers for this one. But Primus, happy 30th birthday to Primus, sailing the seas of cheese, and what an album! I mean, it's full. It's absolutely jam packed with the songs. I mean, I pretty much every time I might actually only exclusively listen to this album.
This is quintessential Primus.
Yeah, for me, for sure. I mean, it has the
Jerry
top was
two.
a race car driver, Tommy the Cat, our favorite, Here Come the Bastards.
Here Come the Bastards. It's just
Sergeant
fantastic.
Sergeant Baker, and American. I love American Life too. It's just
I love Los Bastardos. That's a great one,
dude. Honestly, so when there's the write up on this is like so funny because whoever wrote, like we were looking at Pace Magazine did a top 30 and we were looking through some of the stuff as for a reminder, so we didn't miss any albums, and they were talking about this one, and they whoever wrote this, that's probably their favorite band of all time because they high praise and how no song is bad on this album. And I
absolutely.
agree.
I would totally agree.
But the first line is everyone's favorite alt rock / funk metal / experimental post punk weirdos, and honestly, that's a pretty good descriptor.
They could have gotten rid of everything and just said everyone's favorite weirdos, and that would have been just as descriptive, I think.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? What's your most endearing quality of the band Primus? Now that you've come to the camp,
I absolutely love just the ridiculous subject matter of all of the songs, and I love live Primus, like Les's showmanship. Like that little hop that he does around the stage. He's slapping the bass and he's got that walk going on. I love it. It is so unique and distinct, and it's just like when you put it all together, like how they act on stage, like how they branded themselves, like, hey, we're Primus and we suck. What they're singing about, what they're performing about, like it's just the ultimate like don't give a fuck attitude, which is really, really fun. And when I think of Primus, I just think, obviously it's many years after the music came out, but like for me, it's just fun, to listen to.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, a darker meaning or anything for me at this point, at least, but it's great.
Yeah, I would say that if you guys have never listened to this album and you're looking for a recommendation, I recommend you go for a road trip and put it on, especially if it becomes like the sun is setting. I feel like it's great driving music to keep you up and just drive. So yeah, really good album. I agree with you. The subject matter and the lyrics are hilarious. And of course, all the the syncopation and like the stopping and starting of the band.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all that stuff is really difficult to, I think it's difficult to like create, like when people don't think about music as like stop and go. So yeah. I love that about them.
Well, that's why really I'm always impressed when writers and musicians and bands create music like in different time signatures or even different tunings, because it's just I feel like it's a different part of your brain to access, and it takes a great level of creativity to tap into that, and a lot of confidence, I think, to see those ideas through, because it's going to sound super disharmonious at the beginning. But Primus is another one of those bands that I think their mystique and like now like the meme aspect of it kind of can overshadow the fact that like there's some really good musicians in that band. And I know people have said in the past, it's like, they're great musicians that are purposefully playing badly, which I think is kind of funny. But I mean, they're really, really talented. And I think I definitely forget about that at points when I'm watching it, just because I think it's comical sometimes. But Really, really a big fan. Let's go back to Grungeville for a second. Temple of the Dog's eponymous album came out in 1991 as well. So we're kind of going to gloss over the quote unquote grunge records because I anticipate that at some point we'll get to these, for their own standalone episode. But I mean, that Temple of the Dog project was great, and former members of Mother Love Bone, and then who became Pearl Jam, obviously, in Soundgarden. So I mean, you talk about these guys, the Temple of the Dog album came out, and also 10 came out, and Bad Motorfinger came out. So these gentlemen were busy in 1991. Yeah. Very, very busy.
Yeah, and obviously, when it comes to Temple of the Dog, I think that it has one of my favorite songs of the era, and Hunger Strike. Mm-hmm. Just every time I can just you can just put that on repeat more so than other songs. It's one of those. Mm-hmm. What did you call it the other day? You said albums or songs that can't be worn out.
Yeah, you can't
indestructible.
Kill them. Yeah, you can't kill them.
Indestructible. Yeah. I think Hunger Strike is that. It's just beautiful. For sure.
Yeah. There's so many. Like I think I could make the case, of any song on the Temple of the Dog record of being Temple of the Dog's best song. I mean, they were that good, and it's interesting too because that was Mike McCready came in for that record, and that was some of his first work, in that geographic area with those people. And I mean, he came in and on Reach Down, for example, he just blew the doors off of everybody, and that was kind of his arrival. But a lot of good things going on there. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a podcast episode on Nevermind. Because obviously that one, I mean, that pretty much changed everything, and just changed the trajectory of rock music almost. Think about it.
Yeah, that has to be the biggest album that came out in '91 sure. as far as a historical standpoint, and I mean, and as a band, I mean, 10 and Bad Motorfinger were some of their best. Those Pearl Jam and Soundgarden's best album, but Nevermind was clearly their most important album.
And I think with me, one thing that I always struggle to comprehend, which because it's impossible for us to, is to really get a grasp for how big these were and how explosive they were when they were released. For example, I mean, I think Nevermind came out in September of 1991. So like what it was like being a music fan in July of 91 when like you hadn't heard Teen Spirit, and the next thing you know, you hear this song and it changes everything. And I always love hearing stories, of like people on the page when they'll comment about, I'll never forget where I was the first time I heard Teen Spirit, or I heard Even Flow on the radio for the first time, and I was like, this is big.
Yeah, I always, when someone's explaining it to me and they're trying to get me to understand, I try and compare it to something that's similar in my life to like when when Coldplay broke, back in the day, or like Mumford and Sons. I'm trying to think like the bigger bands that like were in my teenage years. Yeah. And let's see, what's another one?
It's hard though with those comparisons because right now we don't have the convenience of having the perspective because it's still a lot more recent. I mean, 30 years and these are still iconic. Well, so it's hard to tell what's going to have the staying power.
Exactly, but I'm just I'm thinking about what was like when bands release songs now and how it throws them onto the scene, like the comparison of back then. Because it's totally different. You're right, 30 years is a long time to still hold its weight. So I do my best to compare, and I just imagine that it's like
I do wonder about modern music. So like I think 30 years from now, I think people will still be listening to Taylor Swift. I think people will still be listening to Billie Eilish. But like I don't know. I don't know if all generations feel like this, but some pop music recently, I just don't know if it's going to have the staying power. For example, like 2019's chart toppers, for example, I don't know what they are. I couldn't tell you, but I don't know if they'll have the staying power, or even it's always interesting to think
and then
about.
And then you have like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and some of the songs that are just timeless and can't
been on the radio
really,
for 50 years.
Can't be replicated, and people still turn it up when it comes on the radio.
Yeah. What other albums you want to talk about? I have a few I'd like to get to as a sort of a lightning round. You have one? We'll go album for album here.
Yeah. Another one that kind of came up, I think that's important. It was the day before Nevermind was released, but it was the Pixies album, Trompe le Monde, and And so the Pixies, I don't know this album incredibly well, but I do know the importance of the Pixies in the era is extreme. You have a lot of bands reference them and how like just incredible they are to an influence, like with like Sonic Youth and like the basically the people reference Sonic Youth a lot. But I think that this album, one of the footnotes they said is like, because it came out right before Nevermind, it was definitely overshadowed. So it's one of those beautiful albums that you rediscover and you get to realize how good this music was. And I think that's a key, is all these albums are awesome. There's like so many albums that I need to like listen more to. There's not enough time. So I'm assuming that one is going to be the same. So got to go back there and give it another listen, because can't let anything go by. Can't let the good music slip away. So anyway.
For sure. One for me, so going back to yours, the Pixies are definitely a blind spot for me. I haven't spent a lot of time listening to them, but this next one that I'm about to talk about, I actually went out of my way to purchase a CD copy of it, and it is School of Fish by School of Fish, which I think for one of the first episodes, it was my song of the week, 3 Strange Days, which is off of this record. But School of Fish, they only released 2 albums, and 3 Strange Days was the only song of theirs that ever had any sort of commercial success, but really, really great, alternative rock band from the early 90s. They released this album in 91, and they released their second album in 94, and then broke up shortly thereafter. I think the lead singer wanted to go focus on a solo career. His name was Joshua Clayton Felt. He unfortunately passed away from testicular cancer, I think in 2000 or 2001. But this one is just so great. It's just a really, really good listen. 3 Strange Days is great. They have another song on there called King of the Dollar. Some really, really good. They've got a ballad on there towards it. They got a little bit of everything. It's a really, really good, well put together album. And I think a lot of these bands, that came out with their first record in 91, I mean, the market was so saturated with good music. I mean, you're talking about for a rock musician, maybe since the 70s, this is the hardest year to probably break in and fight for airplay and fight for sales, just because, if Nevermind and School of Fish are sitting there on the shelf at your local Tower Records, you don't know what School of Fish is, but it's just fighting for that share of the market. And I think a lot of these bands,
you only got $20 to spend. Are you buying 10? And are you gonna buy Nevermind? Are you gonna buy School of Fish?
Exactly. I'm going School of Fish every time. But it's so hard, because I mean, there's definitely there's even bands that we don't even know of. You and I aren't even aware of that. Didn't get their best shot just because of the powers that be, which is always out of everybody's control, but it's always strange to think about that they're the adjacent Nirvana was out there, and nobody ever really quite discovered them or picked them up. But that's certainly one for me that makes the list, and is one that's of really, really big importance to me. I've listened to it a lot the last year and a half, as I know know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one is one that you would send me on a Monday and be like, wow, 3 strange days. The last 3 days.
Yeah, I'm currently just pulling out of the 3 very strange days, so it's fitting today.
Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite band names, School of Fish.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's so good.
It's a great name.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great album. I'm glad it came out 30 years ago. Another one, U2 came out with Actung Baby. Mm-hmm. And I think that this was another one of them changing
totally.
sounds and totally moving into a more, I don't know, theatrical would be the word.
It was almost a little bit more, produced electric. And I know if I remember right, their tour for this was absolutely crazy, over the top in terms of the just stage accompaniments that they had and everything. And I know at the time was typical U2, right? And I know at this time, this record probably pissed off a lot of the Unforgettable Fire fans and Joshua Tree fans, because it was so different. And I think with time, obviously I wasn't alive for the releases of any of those, but I mean, Joshua Tree is my favorite U2 record. But I can definitely appreciate this one. Mysterious Ways. Oh yeah.
I would say Mysterious Ways is probably my favorite song off the album.
Yeah.
His
album's aged really well.
Yeah. Bono was cited, I was reading, and he referenced the song The Fly, was metaphorically like the cutting down of the Joshua tree in a way.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I love that.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's a great, people probably hate that, but that's pretty,
Yeah.
I like that.
I
thinking.
love that.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Whatever cutting down the Joshua tree means for you in your life,
do it.
I think it's worth doing at some point.
You gotta cut that sucker down.
Change is good.
Yeah, change is good. Sometimes you just gotta free yourself up and get on moving. And I guess Bono did that with Fly.
He never looked back either.
He never did until he had multiple commemorative tours for Joshua Tree. But nevertheless. Lightning round here. A couple albums I want to mention that came out in 1991. Tom Petty's Into the Great Wide Open came out that year, as well as The Sky is Crying by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Additionally, Weld by Neil Young and Crazy Horse came out. These are those three groups, three musicians that I play a lot. I love all of them. Additionally, getting into the rap scene a little bit. Step in the Arena by Gangstar came out that year. They're probably one of my favorite groups. We got Guru and DJ Premier going on there. And then also The Low End Theory by A Tribe Called Quest came out in 1991 as well. I'm a really, really big fan of rap from that era, particularly East Coast rap, like the New York scene and thereabouts. And those are two great records from, great groups there, and oftentimes I'll put on a 90s rap playlist if I'm working or whatever. A lot of New York rap, different things like that. But some more records, and those groups were obviously went on to great commercial success as the decade wore on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to 90s rap as really good background music for me. I like when coffee shops play not your normal coffee shop music, but they play like kind of like the rap and hip hop, city coffee feel. So I can really appreciate that. Another pretty big album that I don't know. I listened to. I think this is a band that you just a little bit more than you realize. But My Bloody Valentine released Loveless, and I kind of just. The reason I wanted to bring them up because you posted, they remind me of The Cure a lot.
Okay.
You posted,
that meme of Robert Smith yesterday.
It's what was the headline?
Yeah, so there was
they're releasing a new album.
Yeah, there was a post. I think it was by like NME or something like that. Yeah, NME posted, it was like, The Cure's Robert Smith thinks this band's next album would be the last. And just the byline for the post was a quote. It was like, I definitely can't do this again. Which, how many times in your life do you get to the point where you have to do something and like that's what you do, whether it be work or like even like going home and making dinner for the kids or something, and you're like, I definitely can't do this again. And the picture that they chose is just absolutely perfect. I mean, that is a mood for all things that get you disgruntled.
Yeah, you sent me that picture yesterday and I just died as well because I just imagined you like laughing at it.
I was cutting up heavy for that. It was great.
Definitely can't do this again. That's like one of my favorite like original memes was like, it was like a picture of a robot and it was like his face was blank basically because it's a robot, but it was like when you're hanging out with someone you realize you don't ever want to hang out with them again.
And it's like
the same thing. It's like I definitely can't when you're hanging out with somebody and you just realize like, you know what, like this is the last time. Or you go on a date and you're like, you just have that moment and you're just like, this isn't going to work. Or if anybody
ever asks you who the best Pearl Jam drummer is, I can't do that again. We're not talking about it. We're done. We've had enough.
Yeah, what's a topic in the grunge world that you just can't? What's a debate that you can't do?
Well, I mean,
the Pearl Jam drummer debate is one that
the Pearl Jam drummer debate sucks. It's super small brain, but the whole like who's the best singer, like dude, like it doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. That one's tired. Calling anybody a sellout is tired. I can't do that again. I can't explain why selling out isn't really a thing again. Until the next time I inevitably do. But what about you?
Paste. There's just some good ones.
Yeah, I hate those. Those are the ones that I hate the most. I definitely can't do those again.
Those are good. Put me on this. Let me think. Yeah, I think bands changing their sound, like selling out. I guess
another one that I can't do again is wow, Alice in Chains really should have changed their name. Like,
oh yes,
dude,
yeah, changing
it's
singers
3/4
and keeping
of the
going.
band still, man. Like,
Yeah, let them play. Like,
yeah, dude, let them play. Like they want
they
Duvall
have their own
to be there.
reasons. They have their own reasons that they're still playing in general. So yeah,
And I'm sure they don't care about your reasons as to why you think they shouldn't be playing. So at the end of the day, you take that and you shove it and you move on. Definitely can't do that again.
Another tired conversation is when people tell me that Guns N' Roses is good.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 came out in 1991, and I'm not going to waste any time talking about the specifics of them. I
couldn't waste time if I wanted to. I don't know anything about it.
The only good thing that Slash has ever done was Velvet Revolver, and even that was mediocre.
The only good thing that Slash ever did was he was on Guitar Hero 2, and I could play, I could use him to play The Cure and Rage Against the Machine songs on Guitar Hero.
The only service that Guns N' Roses...
on medium, because I wasn't very good.
The only service Guns N' Roses gave to society was breaking up for about 20 years. But now they're back and they're raking money in because you have all these people who were in their heyday in the late 80s wanting to relive the glory days. And oh my God. Yeah. Guns N' Roses does not do it for me. It never will. The only passable song they have is Used to Love Her, just because I think it's really funny. It's like, I used to love her, but then I had to kill her. Now she's 6 feet under or something. Just very satirical, I guess. But
yeah.
We do not. I don't know what songs are from Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. I don't care. I don't want to be educated on it. So don't send me any supplemental information about it. I'm not going to read about it. I'm not going to look it up. And I'm not going to listen.
Yeah. Shout out to the creators of Guitar Hero, though.
What a great, sick.
What a great freaking idea, and just what a way to get people into good music, because there's a lot of people that know one song by certain bands.
Slow Ride by Foghat. Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock.
Could you imagine being Foghat and be like, damn it, like, we're the easiest song on Guitar Hero.
They must be getting some pretty nice royalties. Like,
yeah, 100%. What does that mean for you? Like, yeah, we're the easiest song on a video game.
Is that a compliment?
I don't know. And then you have, like, Through the Fire and Flames. Which,
exactly.
That song was like, that song was branded, or it was totally created for Guitar Hero. It was like, yeah, we need, like, Guitar Hero said they need a song.
Yep, so let's do it. Let's think of the most complex,
I actually
ridiculous
do love that
thing.
song, though. That was like a really good song.
My only recollections from it are watching you get together with your buddies back in the day when you're like 11 or 12. It's like, he's gonna attempt Through the Fire and the Flames. Like, let's all gather around. No,
the best is like, it was like have a party, like, yeah, like Derek McBlain's coming over, and he's like, he's really good at Guitar Hero. So we're gonna watch him.
He's like, bringing his own.
He's bringing his own guitar. Like,
were you good at Guitar Hero?
Like, no, I could never get past.
I sucked at it.
I could never get past like the hard. Like, I could play a few hard songs like Foghat, but like play Foghat on hard.
Yeah.
But no, I was very modest. But yeah, it's like Derek's bringing his own guitar because Nate's is all muddy and he used WD-40 so he can get around a little faster.
He thinks it's lucky. He doesn't trust any of the other ones. Yeah, I mean, honestly though, you're kind of right. All jokes aside, I mean, for getting people our age into like classic rock or even grunge, I mean, different things like that. I mean, they did have a really good variety of songs on there, and I definitely remember like my friends in my school, I guess my grade went through like that music phase. I think when I was in 7th grade, and it was like, whose house were you going over to play Rock Band? Whose house were you going over to play Guitar Hero? Like who got like a guitar and was starting to learn and different things like that. Kind of a fun time, long time ago.
Absolute legend of a game. I'm so glad that. I think that, we're not from the era, but I think that we grew up during high school at a good time when music had this intersection where I think that there was still a lot of classic rock influence in the 90s, and then there was stuff breaking through that we think we may not have gotten like the 90s surge, but we got like the really good 2000s.
Oh, totally.
And like the overlap that I don't know if that's happening right now because of just the technological
advances.
Going back to
the Guitar Hero thing, So whenever Guitar Hero 3 came out, I was under the impression for several years after that the greatest guitarist to ever live was Slash.
Dude, it's
I was
so
like,
true.
the guy with the hat, he's the best. So like I'd see him, you know, in like a guitar book or something, or I'd see him on the TV. I'm like, holy shit, there he is. He's the best. It's like Jimmy Page be damned, like all like Stevie Ray Vaughan, who the hell is that? It's Slash in his top hat and the cigarette poking out from his mouth with the neck of his guitar. That's all you needed.
I mean, that dude is a video game character.
Oh, absolutely. He's a caricature. But those are some really good records from 1991. So disclaimer, this is not an exhaustive list, so we don't want to hear it if we didn't include your favorite or we didn't talk about it.
We tried our best.
Yeah, we tried our best, and I think
we did good. We got around to we got around to as much as we could, and
I did the best that I could today. It never ends.
I think, and that's all that matters. That's what we're out here doing.
Absolutely. Let's talk song of the week, Ethan. I want to hear yours.
Well, I have. So the last 3 days I've actually been really what's the word? Appreciative of our conversations, our text conversations. So Chris and I, sometimes we go through where late at night we just catch each other both. Usually Chris catches me when I actually respond to my phone, because I pretty much go dark at night. I don't try to, but we've been talking and listened to a lot of Modest Mouse recently. And, you know, it's just, I just love the lyrics. I love when artists can bring me back. So I've been reading a lot of lyrics and listening, and we've been sending them back and forth. And there's just so many songs to pick through. But this week I'm actually going to put in a song by Isaac Brock's secondaries or band, and they go under the name of Ugly Casanova. And I found them a while ago through just a playlist where they came up, and I was like, this sounds exactly like, you know, Modest Mouse, and lo and behold, it was Isaac Brock. But the song is called Digging Holes, and I really love the lyrics of it, and it's about just how, like, talking to people. So I'll just read it. It says, I wish that you would move to the sun, because you're like digging holes in thin air, and we know that can't be done. It says, bravery and stupidity go hand in hand. I guess that makes me the bravest man. I was quick to learn, but slow to understand. Well, what can you do? And so the album's just kind of about that. It's just like when you're kind of digging holes, you know, barking up the wrong tree, and you just kind of waste time doing, you know, going about like a pursuit. And really, like, you just wish that something would happen. I wish that they would cheat on me, so then I could just be like, I wish that you would cheat with someone because you're like digging holes in water, and it's just not possible. So you just like wish that something would happen that would just be final. And I think that's so true in like some relationships where it's toxic, you know it, or it's a dead end. And it's like one of those things where you just can't like get over it. And actually, one of Dinosaur Jr.'s songs, The Wagon, that came off of the album Green Mind 30 years ago, I wrote down some lyrics because it's and it's like the same thing. And it says, I ring the doorbell in your mind, but it's locked from the outside. You don't live there anyway, but I know it, and I knock it every day, or I knock on it all day. And it's like the same thing. It's like when you know something, but you keep coming back and you're looking for a response. And anyway, so one of the songs that I kind of dove into and just started listening to a little bit more, and I'm going to put it on the list because I think you guys should check out the band, check out the side project, and we love posting Modest Mouse. So I know that you agree. So comments, Chris?
100%.
Or next song of the week?
I totally agree, and I think anything that Isaac Brock has done, you know, Modest Mouse, Ugly Casanova, whatever, I very much prefer to listen to them while I'm reading the lyrics, while I'm reading along with the lyrics, just because you might miss something. And particularly back then, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, Ugly Casanova, that came out in 2002. And I mean, a lot of the records from the 90s and early 2000s with Modest Mouse, I mean, some of those songs were just unbelievable. Like, you have to listen to them a few times to digest. And just, he had this way, and still does, you know, this way of just kind of explaining real life in a way, and just problems that people deal with in
super relatable.
Like not even metaphorically, just like straight cut down to it. And that's exactly, We got an Isaac
It's like
Brock.
the stuff that people don't want to say out loud.
Exactly. We have an Isaac Brock double shot because my song of the week is going to be Modest Mouse. Whenever you breathe out, I breathe in, positive, negative. And this is another one I actually just posted it on Grunge Bible and Porch Radio yesterday, which just like exactly like, just talking about those things that exist in our minds and in society and in relationships that, we're all aware that they exist, but nobody ever really talks about them so much. And this song is just, is just so great. It's like the lyrics read, I didn't go to work for a month. I didn't leave my bed for 8 days straight. I haven't hung out with anyone. If I did, I'd have nothing to say. I didn't feel angry or depressed. I didn't feel anything at all. I didn't want to go to bed and I didn't want to stay up late. When you're living life, well, that's the price you'll pay. And I mean, just like, I think we can all relate to that at some point, when you just have those moments or those ruts where nothing is appealing, and if you do something, you're not going to enjoy it, but you don't enjoy doing nothing, but there's nothing that sounds appealing to do. So you just kind of sit. And just like I interpreted this one and I spoke about it on the post yesterday, the song title, it has positive, negative in it. And it's like, whenever I breathe out, you're breathing in. Whenever I speak out, you're taking it all away. Your feelings are positive, negative, and all of those emotions are there the whole time. And it's really Modest Mouse, exactly like what we were talking about with Kevin Foster, our friend. Just Modest Mouse's music kind of gets you to evaluate things in a different light and look at things differently. And this song, particular for me, it's like all of those emotions, like the good and the bad, like they're always there all the time. It's like which one. It just depends on which one the light is shining on, like everything's positive and everything's negative, I think simultaneously. And this one for me, like I listened to it for like several hours in a row the last couple of days. Like I've just fixated on this song and I've been playing along with it. And it's just, it's just heavy. It makes you think. And I think the best music makes you think and it provokes thought.
Yeah, I love that line. I didn't want to go to bed, but I didn't want to stay up late. And that I think is, if you can't relate to that one, then that's bizarre to me, because that's exactly it. Like people always, like when things aren't going right, they get paralyzed at right around bedtime, or they want to go to bed early. They want to, so they can be energized, but then they want to have that time to themselves, and there's like some paralysis that's involved. And I think a lot of people, they have a band that is similar to Modest Mouse. For us, it just really connects to us. And I think a lot of people, I think that more people should give it a listen, give it a look.
Totally.
But I understand that you guys probably have bands that do the same thing for you. And I just, love that about music. And for some reason, the mouse just hits.
I would love to do
home.
an episode on Modest Mouse, because there's so many lyrics that are flooding my head right now that I want to talk about right now. But we're running short on time, so I think we can and save it for maybe episode, just because there's
agree.
There's such an important band personally, I think, for the both of us, and I think for a lot of people out there, and maybe even hopefully people were to listen and find value in it because they heard us speaking about it. But really, really great stuff. Highly suggest you check them out.
I would love to do a Modest Mouse lyrical analysis where we just kind of bounce back lyrics and talk about it. That'd be super fun. Maybe we'll get a guest for that one, and they're just the person.
I think we should do it. So we had both from the pen of Isaac Brock here today for the song of the week. That's the first time that has happened in the history of the Grunge Bible podcast, so we're excited for that. That'll just about put a lid on episode 14 here. Thanks for your support. As always, you can head over to grungebible.com to find different ways to support us. We have our Patreon page, we have merchandise, we have links to all of our streaming platforms there, as well as our YouTube page. So if you have accounts on different streaming platforms, or even whichever one you're using currently to listen to us or watch us, subscribe, leave a comment, review, like it, follow, whatever the correct term is. We would love it if you did that. And just keep listening, and send us some emails about your thoughts on some of our episodes and some of our thoughts. And if you have suggestions or anything you'd like to hear us talk about in the future, we're all ears, and we're looking forward to keeping the train rolling. But definitely gonna have to do a Modest Mouse episode, whether you guys like it or not. We're gonna have to do that one.
Yeah,
I think you'll like it.
Yeah, you will. And I just want to say, if you guys, this podcast is produced by our good friend Drew McFadden, and he's doing an excellent job. So I want to say shout out, Drew. If anybody has any editing or producing needs, you can hit him up at Godeo. It's like rodeo, but with a G.
Godeo Music on Instagram.
Godeo Music. So go check him out. And if you guys want to sponsor the podcast in any way, feel free to send us something and let us talk about it. But we're really excited to be doing this. Today was a great episode. That was a lot of fun. I love chopping it up with you, Chris.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. And one more note. Right. This is a big week for my friend Ethan over here. Ethan is going this weekend to compete at the United States Track and Field Olympic Trials out in Eugene, Oregon. Yes. So this will be the last episode that we record together until the other side. And we want to, on behalf of all of the Grunge Bible individuals out there, and certainly myself, love to wish you luck and really excited to see how it goes down this weekend. It's a great opportunity that's been, earned every step of the way for the past, 9 years, 10 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. It means a lot. Yeah, this is a journey that I find very admirable, the pursuit of it all and just achieving excellence. So I'm really excited. We've been waiting a long time to compete at this stage. So yeah, we're just going to go out there and enjoy the moment, as they say, and hopefully perform really well. So and maybe make a team.
If anyone's interested in following along, Ethan will be competing in the men's javelin throw. And the preliminary round is that Saturday, Ethan?
Saturday, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Saturday and Monday. Yeah, you guys, if you find the links on, it shouldn't be hard. It'll be on NBC.
I'm going to share them on Grunge
Sports.
Bible. I'm sharing that shit. So Saturday, June 19th.
So it'll be a day after this pod releases. It'll be Saturday.
Yes.
And we'll go off at I think it's 4:15 or 2:15 or 4:15. I gotta look.
You will in fact be rolling on Shabbos.
Yes, I will. I'm not turning on the oven, but I am in fact going to roll on Shabbos.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, so we're all really excited. I know, me. I mean, we go back a long ways to the early stages of this pursuit, and it's been really, really awesome for me, to, as your friend and as a one-time teammate and training partner to, see you see this through and see you earn this. This is really exciting for me, selfishly.
Thank you. Yeah, no, selflessly, actually. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. It's really, it's the longest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
10 or 12 years of focusing on something. So, I think that is not easy to do. So I'm proud.
Absolutely.
Of that.
You got a lot to be proud of. And thank you once again, everyone, for listening to this episode. Episode 14, I believe, is in the books now.
That's all we got. Hey,
that's all we got.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Chris, keep killing it at your day job, and I'm going to keep doing my thing here and rock and roll, people.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. We'll catch you all next week. See you later.
All right, see you later.